Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart, and today we're going to talk about your fatty liver disease, or what we call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. We'll do a deep dive about liver health, and they've actually changed the name. Now we call it metabolic liver dysfunction. They did that because apparently some people were offended by calling it fatty liver. So with that being said, thank you once again for being here. Keep doing your thing, keep sharing out, keep spreading the love. Apparently what you're doing is working. So thank you for the comments, the likes, the shares, all of the good things that you're doing. Keep spreading the love. We appreciate that. Ultimately, you are the reason more people are able to hear this information, and we will keep on providing it, and you keep spreading it out. All right, with that being said, let's do a little deep dive here. When it comes to your liver, I'll start by telling you this. Very rarely are there outward symptoms. There are some, and I'll share those with you, for example. And so we'll do a deep dive in the sense that we'll talk about why this is so important for us to understand what is non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. Why are we seeing it even in children at this point, which is kind of a bummer. Why is this one of the most common things being diagnosed? Why are so many docs missing this? And then also, of course, what are we going to do about it? And I'll make sure we do my best to keep it as simple as can be here. All right, so let's just talk about the symptoms for a moment here. Most of the time, your liver dysfunction is going to be silent. Although you've probably heard me on this podcast say things like, if you have skin issues, we're thinking about your liver always in the process of detoxification. If you have things, if the liver has gone south for a little bit, you may end up with something called jaundice, and that's when your skin starts to turn yellow. That tells me things have been kind of literally backed up in the liver for a little bit. What else? You can have pain in the upper right-hand quadrant, like underneath, almost like underneath your bottom rib on the right-hand side, itchy skin. These are all signs, unexplained weight loss. These are all kind of symptoms of liver, but for the most part, I almost want to leave those out because I don't want you to think that, I don't have any of those. I don't have fatty liver or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, because it's kind of silent, and the number one thing, and I'm going to tell you what to test in just a moment here, we got to really test for it. There are very specific things that we want to test to find out how well our liver is or is not functioning. In Chinese medicine, we often refer to the liver as we live by the way of our liver. And it is probably the most important organ of the human body in terms of function, especially metabolic function. In Chinese medicine, we use we talk about how the liver supplies all of the other meridians, all of the other organs with their qi, meaning their life force. So the liver is an important element of our overall health, especially our metabolic health, our endocrine system, our hormones, our weight gain, our weight loss, our brain function. We know things like our liver stores our vitamins for us. It metabolizes cholesterol for it. It conjugates hormones. So all of these other things that we might be kind of derailed with a little bit, thinking, this is just my hormone issues, or I have a cholesterol issue. Many of these we have to address the liver when it comes to these. So I'm going to share with you a couple different things. First, let's talk about the causes of something what we call non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or if you'd like, we can call it metabolic liver dysfunction. The number one cause of fatty liver disease is hands down, and again, we're going to call this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So we're going to rule out alcohol in this situation. That certainly does impact it. Don't get me wrong here. So even light alcohol consumption is going to affect it and is going to have impact on fatty liver disease. They came up with the phrase of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease to say that it wasn't solely caused by alcohol itself. So number one, though, is insulin resistance. And what does that really mean to us? It means carbohydrates and sugar for long periods of time. That's it in a nutshell, which means that's essentially what all of us as Americans have been eating since we're 2 years old, probably younger than that. We wake up, have a bowl of cereal, have peanut butter and jelly for lunch, bag of chips. We have some pasta at night. When carbohydrates after carbohydrates for decades, 70 to 80% of our consumption of food or calories are coming through carbohydrates. And those are all converted to sugars. And eventually, this is why we see such rampant amounts of obesity in our country. We see rampant amounts of type 2 diabetes. And then, unfortunately, not tested often enough, but most people are creating something called insulin resistance. We've covered that several times in the podcast, when essentially your body has consumed so much carbohydrates and sugar over time, you start to become resistant to the insulin. This is one of the first things that's going to start to damage and inhibit liver function. So insulin resistance, sugar, a little unknown or often not connected too well, is the impact of gut health on fatty liver and liver function. So especially things like leaky gut and small intestine bacterial overgrowth. Both of those will impact the liver in a negative way, essentially leading to, especially if they're left unchecked. And remember the SIBO, how do we know if someone has SIBO? That is when you could eat or not eat, and then you literally feel like you're pregnant. You blow up. It's a small intestine bacterial overgrowth from your lower part of your intestines. That bacteria grows the gas, that methane gas leaks up into the small intestine, and you literally look and feel like you're pregnant, even though you might not have eaten so much food. You literally just off a little bit of food. So those types of things, insulin resistant, sugar, small intestine bacterial overgrowth, leaky gut, seed oils. Well, I should say it this way: processed seed oils, the canola oils, these bad rancid fats that we put into our body. And your liver is supposed to be the one trying to break all these down. So the first thing that happens is you bring this junk into your body, and your liver gets inflamed. And that's where it starts, folks. The fatty liver starts with your liver first being inflamed. Then there's other things. I'm going to dive into this, and this certainly should raise some eyebrows. Medications like statins. Statins are toxic to the liver, so it's not uncommon that we'll see statins eventually lead to fatty liver, even though someone might be thin, might not be overweight. And we see that long-term statin use often leads to congested liver function. We'll see some other medications like continuous cortisone shots or corticosteroids, things that are used to actually, we're using them to downregulate inflammation in the body. And yet the flip side, especially through longer use of them, they actually create or have the potential to create things like fatty liver disease or non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So we have a whole gamut of different things that can do it. And that's why there's not a one size fits all of why people get it. So, yet there are some very, very simple lab tests, which I'm going to share with you now, that if we check these, we can figure this out. And again, I will tell you this: think of your liver as the silent organ. And if it goes bad, by the time you know, if it's gone bad and you have all these other really bad symptoms, that's not good. It's not cool, because that means you've had a lot of metabolic dysfunction in your entire body. It could be your hormones, it could be it could be your lipids, meaning your cholesterols. It could be how your body's processing your vitamins or nutrients. It could be how you break down your carbohydrates and fats. So it could be in so many different things. So it's too easy to get a good grip on understanding what your liver is or is not doing. So you can run a very standard CBC panel. This is just it's very relatively inexpensive. It's a type of panel that almost any one of your docs would run, like a walk-in clinic, that includes your liver enzymes. And there's three that we're going to look for very specifically: something called your ALT, your AST, and your GGT. If any of these are elevated, automatically this is indicative. So especially the ALT, when we see that elevated, we automatically are starting to think, all right, there's congestion here. There is some level of fatty liver dysfunction, fatty liver disease taking place. What are those levels supposed to be? Unfortunately, in the labs, they'll say that up to about 50 is okay, and that is not okay, folks. The reason that number is so high is because so many people test high, they figure it's got to be normal. And again, we're not looking for normal. Especially in functional medicine and functional nutrition, we are looking for optimal. So we would like to see those numbers probably in the 20s, if not in the teens. So there's a lot of people out there walking around right now. That's a very, very simple lab test. It's probably a $100 test, and you'll get a bunch of other markers with that. But we look at those specifically, and if we see those elevated, immediately we're thinking, okay, we got to address the liver, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Those are kind of the surface ones. There are others. So if you've done labs with me, we do a deeper dive. We run full lipid panel, and not only so, which means all your cholesterols. When we look at your cholesterols, especially things like high triglycerides, if you have high triglycerides, we know automatically you are leaning in the direction of fatty liver disease. And there are some people who do not have high triglycerides, but have a marker called your VLDL. And the only way you're going to have that tested, if you're most likely, is if you're having your doctor, which most likely is going to be like a functional medicine doctor, or someone like myself who runs a deeper dive on the particle sizes of your lipid panel. And when we look at those, we can start to recognize what's going on. What's going on with your lipids? What's working, what's not working? Is insulin resistance on the table here? And of course, we want to test insulin resistance. Many of you listening to this have never had your insulin resistance tested. I will tell you this, it was an eye opener for me. I've never been really overweight. I've never been obese, yet I did eat carbohydrates the majority of my life. And even when I thought I cleaned myself up, I still had signs and symptoms, and really even my labs showed up as at least low levels of insulin resistance, which I don't have anymore, because where I was able to monitor those, make some changes, and then go back and retest them again. So it's completely eradicated. And that's the cool part about this. Even if you have fatty liver disease, you can fix it. You can completely eradicate it. If you have insulin resistance, by knowing it, I think so I love testing, and I kind of have a love-hate relationship with testing. I don't like to over-test because sometimes we get too caught up. We think we are our lab tests. We are not. Yet they give us ideas and hopefully motivate us to see what our next strategy should be, what our next action should be. And I find for a lot of people, if they do some testing, often it is that moment that they go, okay, all right, I've been thinking about doing this. I know I've had to clean up my diet a little bit. This is evidence. This is the writings on the wall here. It's time for me to hunker down. And therefore, because of this lab, now it is in my face. I can't deny this. It's time for me to take some action. So if that's you, go ahead and invest in a little time, a little bit of money, especially if you're no longer 20 years old. You're 35, you're 40, you're 45, you're 50, 60, 70 years old. Knowing these things, and it's never too late to take good care of yourself either. So that's a kind of a misnomer at times. So anyways, some of the labs we're going to run, ALT, AST, GGT. We're also going to look to see if the platelets are low. That's another indicator that you may have some fatty liver issues. The small particles in your VLDLs, along with your insulin resistance markers. If your practitioner is running at detailed fractional particle sizes for you, awesome. That is what everyone should be running. They give us great indicators of a lot of different things, especially what risk factor you have when it comes to your cholesterol metabolism. All right. Are there other tests? There are. Another great thing you could do, it's not the easiest thing, but nonetheless, you could get an ultrasound, and that would literally show you the size and shape of your liver to determine how much of the liver is actual fat, and then how much of it potentially is fibrotic. And those are big issues. So it kind of goes like this. At first, when it comes to liver health, it might get inflamed. And that could happen through everything we just talked about, through food and through medications and through lifestyle, et cetera. After it becomes inflamed, then it becomes fatty. After being fatty for long periods of time, it becomes fibrotic and or scarred. That's a problem. That's what we call cirrhosis. And then unfortunately after that, like down the road, then we're talking about replacements, liver transplants and things like that. But we can do so much way prior to that if we have the right data if we're collecting the right data along the way to help ourselves here. All right, so let's dive into what we do about this. We'll wrap this up. So there's a lot of evidence showing us that we can fix this. You can absolutely heal. And that's the beauty about our liver, beauty about our body, quite frankly. We are self-healing, self-regulating machines, quite frankly. And don't ever, 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 ever forget that our creators created us in the eyes of perfection. Most of the time, we have to get out of the way. We have to stop polluting our bodies. We have to stop putting the junk into our bodies and inhibiting this greatness that our creator gave us an opportunity to be. So big first step, get out of the way. Let's get out of the way of letting our body function the way that it's supposed to be. So let's get our diet clean. Let's stop putting poisons in our body. We got to get clear. There's a lot of evidence that things like a ketogenic diet, even a Mediterranean diet, are very effective when it comes to reversing things like fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I will tell you this too. What's the simplest way to do this? Get clean, use a version of God's garden, and I would tell you, go low carb, no carb. As you do that and your body gets an opportunity to burn up these fat cells to get rid of things, that's going to be the fastest way for you to do it. A little bit of intermittent fasting, meaning at least fasting 12 hours a day. Maybe if you're a female, getting up to that 14-hour mark on a daily basis. And then for guys, maybe a little bit longer, getting real comfortable being at about 14 to 16 hours daily. This is going to give our liver and our stomach opportunities to do some healing, to get rid of the things that they don't need to have in there. And again, all of this is predicated and prefaced upon the fact that you're going to stop putting junk into your body. Those are the seed oils. And this is where sometimes we have to be a little bit of an investigator. When we go out to eat, quite frankly, almost every restaurant out there, unless of course you get the chance to visit our cafe in Seagrove Beach, Florida, almost every restaurant out there is going to use canola oil. So you're going to have to start to navigate around that. One of the ways you might just say, hey, listen, tonight when you cook that steak, can you do me a favor, cook it in butter, not oil? And same thing with anything. Anything when you're at a restaurant, have them cook it in butter, not oil. We know that the oil is going to be canola oil or something even worse than that, quite frankly. So we have to start to navigate ways to make sure that we're not putting toxins in our body, that we stop the interference. Because again, our bodies are self-healing, self-regulating mechanisms. We are machines if we let them be. If you're not healing from something, there's a very good chance that you haven't fully let your body do it. And that letting, quite frankly, without doing a deep dive on healing right now, you might not be allowing enough time also. So we need time to do some healing. So our livers are amazing. They are one of the few organs that can completely regenerate itself. Completely. You can put a beat down on your liver. And heaven knows many of us have. So you can completely heal up your liver if you give it the right nutrients and the right time allotment without putting any more punishment to it. All right, so let's talk about, so we talked about a little bit, you can use a ketogenic diet, fantastic Mediterranean diet, low carb diet. Ultimately, got to have a clean diet. That's going to do it. That's going to be the one that's going to help your liver clean up. If it doesn't have to beat up continue to break down the toxins, it can go to work for you and also go to work for itself and repairing itself. There are some supplements. I'm going to keep this really simple. There's one magical herb when it comes to the liver, and it's called milk thistle. There are many other things that help with different phases of detoxification, but milk thistle is probably the single best gold standard when it comes to helping liver function. And I'll put in the show notes here today. I'll do a couple things. In the show notes, I will put where to contact us if you want to run some labs and you want to do it an in-depth panel, what we call a full male comprehensive panel or full female comprehensive panel, where we get everything from your hormones to your lipids, all your statins, your particle sizes, your type 2 diabetes risk factors, your heart rate factors, your iron levels, all of your different hormones. I think I mentioned now, your inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein, homocysteine, all of those are in the comprehensive panel, or we can just send you a CBC panel that allows you to go check your liver enzymes and start there. I'll make sure all those in your show notes, and I'll also put a link to where you can get some milk thistle. And they're obviously, just like anything else, not all milk thistles made the same. So you want a good trusted source, and I'll make sure I put that in the show notes. All right, wrapping this up here. So what do we do about the liver? Do we wait for symptoms? No. This is one of the ones that if you've just been on this earth long enough, probably a good idea to see how well your liver is functioning. A couple different labs we mentioned earlier, ALT, AST, GGT. We want to know if you have, ideally, you would also like to know where you stand when it comes to insulin resistance, your particle sizes, especially your small particles. And then we'd also like to move to a cleaner diet, preferably to what I call God's garden, which means it comes from a root, a plant, a tree, walks in the garden, swims in the sea, eat it. If it doesn't, do not. Stop putting junk into your body. Stop interfering with the gift that your creator gave you. And then last but not least, if there's a one thing that I would probably recommend for all people with anything liver, and we certainly have more in-depth suggestions and recommendations when it comes to liver. We use protomorphogens, we have different vitamins and different herbs for the liver, but if there was one gold standard one, that's milk thistle. All right, folks, once again, I appreciate that you're here, appreciate that you've tuned in to another episode of the Health Made Simple Social. Thank you for joining. Continue to take deliberate action for your mind, your body, your overall health, and we look forward to catching you on the next episode. Take care now.